I just want to start this video off with a disclaimer. Basically, I had recorded this video last year when Sniper Elite 5 had just come out. So, as of now, everything talked about in the video is outdated, and all of the speculation has been addressed by now. So, with that being said, I am probably going to post it mostly unedited just to get something out there, and I hope those who do watch this video enjoy the discussion that Solaire and I get up to. So without further ado.
Alright, so for this episode, we'll be talking about Sniper Elite 5. And I have with me my good buddy Solaire. You mind if I call you that?
Yeah, of course. Works for me.
Alright, so obviously, spoilers for Sniper Elite 5, as to be expected. We both recently played through the game, and I just recently finished going through the entire game on Authentic. And as a longtime fan of Sniper Elite series, I definitely have my opinions of this game, but overall, I would say if you are a fan as well, be a good as time as any to get the game. But if you're still on the fence, I would probably just wait for a sale at this point.
Yeah, waiting for a sale for this kind of game would be definitely the wise idea. It's a fun experience for sure, but as it stands currently, it does have a few issues that to me don't match the current price tag.
Yeah, it I personally think generally boils down to the effects of the condition of the video gaming industry of the moment. With all lockdown and everything, that definitely put a kink in production. So I'd say that's to be expected of every game in the industry right now is going to feel a bit rushed. But I think we're
Mhm.
getting back to normal at this point with the AAA studios. But yeah, unless you're a super long run fan of the Sniper Elite series, I would say no harm in waiting for a sale. Rebellion does do sales periodically, and they do have a roadmap for their DLC, so they will probably run a sale on the game when they drop. They're doing the DLC in seasons, sort of like with Sniper Elite 4. It seems they're going to be dropping generally a weapon and uh, a mission at a time.
Yeah, the DLC roadmap does is posted on their store page, so for those who are curious, you can look for more specifics there. Uh, Currently, they have what it seems like planned two mission DLC to be released, and then a grand total of six weapon packs and two weapon skin packs and two character skin packs. Each one is going to be in four phases, in groups of three. Mission one will be released first, while mission two will be released last. So, if you're looking for the missions, you'll have to wait a bit until both missions are released. But the first mission will be there right as the DLC releases.
Yeah, I would say there are definitely some issues, like I said, with the production quality.
Hmm.
Um, I thought that, I mean, going through, there's actually on the second mission specifically, there was a bug with the way that you get the new weapon unlocks is you have to do the optional kill challenge.
Ah, yes,
And
we're talking about the
the
chandelier, if I remember
chandelier.
correctly.
I actually did look into that, and basically it was something that was patched in day one. It was part of the day one patch,
Yes.
but it wasn't entirely fixed.
Yeah, and
Uh,
that still stands to this day because
yeah,
when I played through it, I experienced the same thing.
I ran through that a couple times before I went forums and tried to figure it out. Basically, with the game, if you want to get the weapon unlocks, you have to do a kill objective with a specific optional parameter, and in this case, you have to drop a chandelier on this individual's head um,
Hmm.
in a ballroom, and basically,
There are
it
two methods
was
of doing this.
yeah, it was bugged out. So there's basically you can shoot at the chain or select the chain box and basically uh, sabotage that to drop the chain. If you do that, it will not count. You have to shoot the chain for it to count for the unlock.
Hmm.
And something interesting is if you shoot the chain and then go to the box, it spawns another one and drops a second.
Really?
Yeah, it drops a second chandelier, and this is consistent with the I believe it. I forget which mission might be mission 6 with the V2 missiles. Um,
Yes.
if you shoot the hook holding the missile, and then you go up to the control board and you press the uh the detached hook button basically
Hmm.
does that, and there with that
And
character's
what I speaking of
optional
that
kill.
specific kill, like that kill challenge with the V2 missile,
Mm-hmm.
I find the fact that this I'm going to straight call it a bug because the fact that this situation exists should be considered a bug. To
Yeah.
where if you use the chain release in the second mission, the kill doesn't count.
Yeah.
However, if you use the chain release on the V2 missile, the kill counts and you get the unlock, which if it's present later in a very similar situation, it should function the same way the first time. So I'm feeling that, a flag wasn't associated with the kill or
Mm-hmm.
with the object or what have you or the event.
I mean, it's
However it is they did it in the game engine.
yeah. There are some issues with there's the voice lining scenarios are kind of weird. There's Carl will basically he'll step over voice lines a lot, and
Hmm.
he has, I don't know if it's more or less voice lining, but you'll often go into one voice line and then he'll cut himself off saying another voice line. And sometimes he'll say voice lines that would say there was, some sort of a voice line prompt for, uh, killing somebody, but you already like killed them across the map with the sniper. He'll go into the room and say the line for noticing the guy again sometimes.
Hmm.
And specifically with the V2 missile one, what I did is I basically ran up and punched him in the face, um, and gently placed him under the missile, and then I shot the hook and it fell on him, and it gave me the voice line that indicates that I killed him with the missile. Um, then I go to the chain box on top and release the missile. It drops the missile on him again, and I get that same voice line. Even
Interesting.
though he's already dead, like it was a little funky. I tested it with a chandelier because I thought it was funky how they just spawned a new missile and deleted the old missile. To be clear, um, so it's not like we're just stacking assets. That'd be funnier. Uh,
Hmm.
but basically, something else I noticed is it could have just been a situational bug. It could have been something, but on the what was it, mission 5 or 6 with the cement pit. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
I think that's number five.
okay, yeah. With that mission, it didn't count the cinematic of him leaning over the edge. I had to punch him in the face and toss him into the cement pit, which I think is a little less humane.
That's weird. When I went through that mission when he leaned on, did you sabotage the
Yeah,
freaking?
I sabotaged the rail, messed with the cement, so then he goes on the rail, and for some reason it would not count him
Interesting.
being on the rail. I think that was just
Yeah, that's a weird bug.
a weird bug with that. Yeah, with that map specifically, um, I think that map was just a little buggier than the other maps in some regards.
Hmm.
Because there is an area where sort of by that cement pit complex, uh, the construction site with the some sort of missile explosive you have to shoot.
Hmm.
Um, there's a ramp that if you go up to it and the game gets a little confused with ledge hanging and whatnot. So like
Yeah, it
you'll
gets
walk up
very
on
confused.
the ledge and you'll basically hold on to the hang on the ramp and you'll basically clip the floor, and if you're able to let go, you will fall through the map, but they were smart enough to make sure if you do fall through the map that you simply respawn in the top of wherever you are, so you don't infinitely fall. You only fall for a couple seconds.
Yeah, which is good
Um,
on them.
yeah,
Having teleport or kill planes underneath the map is
I,
nowadays a general necessity in
I
some
feel like
regard.
in other games it would make more sense for kill plane. But with this game, I think it being uh with it being a teleport plane, I think is a little better.
Yeah,
Um,
especially because like if especially with this game, like if you die, like
you
say you've
lose
gotten
significant progress.
yeah, unless you had some form of autosave like very recently, you could lose tons and tons of progress, which is terrible.
And I messed around with this. It's an easily like repeatable bit. Like you can if you go to that spot, it isn't too hard to get clipped there. And if you're on the side, basically there's the hidden like depot for the prototype submarines.
Hmm.
If you end up going the tank depot route, and you slip in there, you go around back. If you end up getting caught, there's consistently some sort of like a enemy that has a basically a Gatling gun that just shoots you through the walls as long as you're detected.
Hmm.
Which has a pretty far range. Like for whatever reason you know this tank or whatever can just uh basically infinitely unload bullets on you through the
Who
wall of
needs to
this area.
reload?
Yeah. It it kind of sucked to get caught in that area, especially on authentic, because yeah, I ran through the game on hard mode and then went to authentic, and I mean I with Sniper Elite 4, I ended up putting like 100 hours into that to do the authentic plus difficulty without saving, and that was just like a really difficult challenge to get an achievement that like 0.01% of players had according to Steam because it's changed by now. Basically, you know, an achievement that not that many people would go out of the way to get.
Hmm.
And with that, I expected the authentic difficulty to be just difficult to an almost unfun or unfair degree because it's supposed to be the epitome of challenge. But with this, like I honestly could have gone through the game first time on authentic difficulty.
Hmm.
And in some respect, I'll say that they made the game more playable on authentic. Because in 4, scope zeroing did basically nothing at all. And you just had to learn the exact bullet drop and windage and you had to do Kentucky windage, which is basically just you take a shot and adjust based on where
Yeah.
your shot landed. So they definitely made it easier to be without the auto aim, and like because I played, on authentic difficulty, you don't get the aim assist reticle anymore. With going through that for so long, just learning the bullet drop of one rifle, it basically making the bullet drop math more consistent made it so I wasn't tied down to just one rifle. And so another thing I'll say about the rifles specifically is I like the choice that this title decided to make with limiting the weapons. So there's not a whole bunch of weapon choices, but there's a lot of customization, and it might be that by the time that I played through Sniper Elite 4, I had all the DLCs had been out, and they added several guns to the game, but it basically let you customize the guns fully without 6 guns of primary, secondary, and then sidearm is a pretty solid, diverse enough weapon pack, without being overwhelming on the choice paralysis that you end up seeing a lot of time in games. I guess trying to think. Oh yeah, another bug I ran into generally with the bonus Hitler mission. Basically, there's a lot of grass plain areas that are supposed to be you're not supposed to walk up on there, but you get stuck in those areas. Once you get in, you can't really get out.
There's a lot of terrain in that DLC especially, but it's kind of spread out through the rest of the missions as well. Just not as, I would say not as bad, but still prevalent to where there's a lot of terrain that blends together very easily that looks like you should be able to traverse through it just fine. That is instead an invisible wall meant to deter you. And I found, even in the first mission, I found myself kind of running into this issue. Like when I first started playing, there'd be areas that looked like you should be able to, traverse through this, and it would make sense to, cut through this section. But instead they just block it off. So especially that first mission was kind of rough on that one because everything was very linear. And so you would basically say, okay, I can either go left or right, and you would have to do the full loop and then
something
extract.
I noticed there was there's extra deploy locations. So the idea is you go through, you learn the map, you basically realize that there's new deployment areas. And I found that oftentimes the extra deployment areas are more useful deployment points for just doing the map quicker, or the idea is if you're trying to get a specific objective in replay, you can just pick a different spot.
Yep.
And
I used that same exact feature because I believe it was for the Spy Academy mission that I was doing this for, where I was trying to get that kill achievement for the chandelier. I chose the spawn point that was closest to the manor, which of course made that easier, but I feel the implementation wasn't done as best as it could. Because again,
it almost felt like
purpose.
your base location was deliberately the furthest away from whatever main objective you have. If you look at the first mission, you start in the bottom corner. They have the kill objective in the bottom the bottom left, you start in the bottom right. But then they have the main objective up in the top right. So, the implication is you're supposed to go one way or the other, but you end up doing this super unoptimal loop around the entire
Hmm.
map that takes a long time. First time
It just wastes a lot of time.
I just
And
easily spent a whole over an hour the first time trying to get around until I had those optional deployment locations. And I could, once I had those more convenient deployments, and I understood the pathing, um,
Mhm.
it I could punch that out in 10 minutes easily.
Yeah, again, I feel that it just could have been done in a much more you could have made the deployments make the missions easier for replay without making the initial playthrough of the game feel as if you're wasting time. And that would just be solved by instead of having in the first mission especially if I let me pull up the map just to make sure I'm not making a fool of myself
Yeah,
here.
the first mission I think is, I mean, the second mission seems large as well, but the first mission I think is just massive. And
Hmm.
the way that they make you run around to do everything, it really takes a long time, especially when you're new to the whole thing, to basically figure everything out. Uh,
Yeah, so when you look at the mission map, it looks as if, oh my God, this map is huge. I'll be able to explore this, 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 and that. But
yeah,
essentially, there's several pockets of the central map that are entirely inaccessible.
yeah,
And there's some sections of the map that look as if you should be able to transition from one section to the next, but are completely walled off from each other.
yeah.
So while the
With
map
the little picket signs that say minefield, but
or even just walls of fences or shrubbery or trees that in other sections these very similar looking fences are easily
I
mountable.
mean, if you look at Sniper Elite 4, the kind of Italian villa style mission,
Mhm.
um, you had this, you had all these houses. Some of them you could go into, but I mean, there are a good number that you couldn't. But still, you could wander through houses that didn't necessarily have anything. They're just meant to
Hmm.
traverse through the map. So you
Exactly.
would basically go through. There
Like
might be a letter hidden somewhere or whatever, but
yeah,
for the most part, in the first level in the urban city section, there was only really a handful of like houses that you could go into, and some of the walls were just blown clean off, basically.
hmm
So that
I I feel that a good way that this could have been resolved is just again opening up these walls in the game that's it really does just wall off the map into instead of it being one fluid map that you explore and traverse, it's instead a group of smaller maps that are just walled off from each other that you spend time traversing one way or the other. Like when I was when I first played this first mission, Twisties actually was playing with me in multiplayer.
hmm
And so we hopped in, we were going around through different points. We ended up splitting up multiple times and then running past each other multiple times. But I found most of my playtime in this mission, even with the additional deployment areas, was just spent running along the main roads because I couldn't get to where I needed to go by any other means.
and by the time
Uh,
that you had found an area that was, the next closest area that had people to fight in, you gotten downed, and there's no relative way that I was going to be able to revive you in any convenient
mhm.
time.
Because
Uh,
if I remember correctly, you were over by the gun battery, and I was
yeah,
over, or the gun battery that
I think
we had to
I was you
blow
were
up.
there's the anti-air guns that you were by, and I was in the church.
I
Basically, I couldn't even get to the hotel.
I was over by the giant the radar, communications tower
Okay,
thing with
so
like almost like a giant billboard.
there was no way I was going to physically be able to get to you because
Hmm.
I was at the church. I managed to run to the like I could see the hotel
Hmm.
before you bled out. So there's no relative way I was gonna ever be able to revive you like that.
Yeah,
Uh,
but even with open map, that would have been
mhm.
possible. But with this closed mapping, even if I was like significantly closer, there was no possible way you can get to me because you'd have to follow main channels and
the
main routes.
the thing is, they added a tremendous uh one of the main advertising points was like I think there's the way that they advertised Mission 3 Spy Academy. Um,
Hmm.
it made it seem like there would be this, like because of how vertical that map was. That was the only mission where you used zip lines,
Hmm.
and that basically, like mission, I think it was mission 5 or 6, the one we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Basically, there were some use of zip lines, but they were to just you zip lined over inaccessible areas that they
Hmm.
purposely used to segment off. So you had
The zip line only existed
a
to bypass a obstacle that they created.
yeah, and like is able to. It was the only way you were able to cut the corner there, except it was a one-way corner cutting, which I think in some cases, in turn, if you were trying to get one way or the other, like there's a zip line I took
Hmm.
that just dropped me off in an area I just didn't need to be, so I literally just reloaded my autosave so I wouldn't have to run back up the hill.
Hmm.
Um,
Surprisingly enough, too, Spy Academy is actually, in my opinion, one of the better map missions
yeah, if you
in the
look
game.
if you look at that was the one they advertised with this big giant castle, and
Hmm.
I think the footage that they used had to have been some test map that they either scrapped or are saving for
A DLC,
a
probably.
DLC. Because like the only comparable map to it, I would say, is Spy Academy, because that's the only like castle map.
Hmm.
Um, Now something
And
real quick.
and with the map geometry, I just gotta
Mm-hmm.
say this. So Twisty is the one that has a lot of experience with the Sniper Elite games. You've played literally every single Sniper Elite game, if I remember correctly. And
Aside
he's
from the zombie army one, I just hadn't really. Uh, I could have
outside
caught
of that.
up. I could have caught up on those ones, but it's not really worth doing a co-op game solo. So
Yeah, fair enough.
I didn't have a group of people who were willing to play through it with me, so I kind of skipped out on the zombie ones. Plus, they're kind of a different format.
Yeah, it's kind of a side shoot from the main series, but as far as the main series goes, you've played them all.
Yeah.
Uh, I've played a few. I haven't played all of them, but I've played a handful of sniper games. The most recent one that I can think of is the more recent Sniper Ghost Warrior games, not Sniper Ghost Warrior 1 through 3, but rather the new fancy dancy high tech you're an assassin style one. Heavily suggest those games actually. They're very, very good. Very good comparison to make with other sniper games in the market. But in this game, I when I play a sniping game, I there's one thing that I expect, and that is the ability to set myself up in a position to make a long style shot. Normally, something that is at least 200 meters plus, right?
Yeah.
A good example of this in another game is again Sniper Ghost Warrior Contracts, I think it is. Yeah, Sniper Ghost Warrior Contracts 1, where they have two in that game. There's two styles of map. There is your standard contracts, and there are long shot contracts. Long shot contracts are basically you are in this very mini map where you basically are just making your way to different perch points So there's not much resistance in between those points, maybe a handful of guards, five at the most, maybe. You sneak past or eliminate them, whatever you want to do, and you make your way to your perch point, and you're now making shots that are like anywhere between 500 to 800 meters out.
Mm-hmm.
So you can, and those ones you can do very easily stealthy because you just get the loudest uh, long range rifle you want and not even have to worry about sound.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as you pick and choose your battles there, you're able to do it. But in the standard ones, you're still able to make these long shots. You just kind of do it in a similar way that Sniper Elite does, where you have a lot of close quarters combat situations, and if you bring a loud and proud, the whole map will hear you. But if you bring a small one, if you just eliminate the immediate area around you, you'll be able to snipe targets from a distance without them hearing you.
Mm-hmm.
A good example is, I believe, the second or fourth mission, if I remember correctly, where there is this church at the center of the map. And once you make your way through the different outposts and clear out the church, it gives you a very good vantage point at this mansion that is housing your current target and the man he's supposed to be meeting. There are challenges to, snipe him from X amount of meters. And, I was trying to find the best place, and the church ended up being the best spot. And it had a wonderful, sniping perch that was high enough to where I could aim at everyone facing at this mansion, uh, but still had to, challenge myself in terms of, finding points to shoot, knowing who to execute first, yada, yada, making these difficult, 300 plus meter shots. In Sniper Elite, there's only really two missions that I can remember, and the second mission, I don't remember which mission it was, that had experiences like this.
Well, I will say on that, I before I went about inviting you for this, I had already kind of tried really to pick the game to pieces and trying to get a lot of the achievements in game.
Mhm.
And for the most part, I have them, but there's like one type of thing holding me back, and aside for just the single player scene,
Mhm.
and it was the long shot challenges. The long shot, basically you have long shot on normal, and then you have on authentic, and depending on the mission, the authentic shot will be slightly longer or it will be comparable. On you'll basically, for instance, in the first mission, right? If the little the big billboard shaped like radio tower that you climb up
Mhm.
on.
Yep, yep.
If you go there and aim at a guy over by the little, the big like battery gun, like the giant one
Hmm.
that's like in the concrete structure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
If
The
you
one that's making a lot of the noise cover.
if you aim at one of the guys over there at the furthest possible thing using like mock ammo, which makes it so it goes with less bullet drop. If you
Mhm.
shoot all the way out there and just barely clip somebody, you're only going to get a silver medal, and that's like 600 meters for
Mhm.
some reason. These long range kill shots are deliberately it's a very specific spot you need to find in the map that the game doesn't do a good job at telling you where you need to go. Like it,
That
I
seems to be a
try.
prevalent problem across the game, is
I
that it doesn't
Yeah,
do a good job at communicating with the player about its requirements.
like you go to the top of the church, you might be able to get a 500 meter, doably. Like I went up to went up to the tallest building I could find that would have the longest range. I go look for the furthest guy, and it's just a silver out of gold.
Hmm.
And I need 125 more meters to get that authentic gold shot.
Hmm.
Um, and the thing is, there's a sniper out there. Like when you start the mission, you're at the very beginning of the mission. You go down that slope.
Hmm.
If you somehow snag the sniper up on that hill, that's just barely the requirement. Some 500 meters for
Hmm.
you to unlock the
I
silver.
feel the developers, took a lot of achievements that were possible in the previous Sniper Elite games, where there were significantly more chances for long style shots.
I think they're
Uh,
still possible. It's just like it's a very specific spot, and sometimes you can find it.
exactly.
Other times,
But
like
that in and of itself, I feel, is an issue.
mhm,
Like, for example, if we go back to Sniper Elite 4, the bridge level,
mhm,
where you're trying to shoot out and explode this giant train bridge,
yeah,
you can easily pass anywhere between, like, what is it, like 600, eight
yeah,
hundred meters, I think, at
yeah.
that point.
No, the implied spot that you're supposed to be is all the way on the other side of the valley.
Hmm.
And yeah, as I might have said, one of the things that was really hard to do in Sniper Elite 4 on authentic difficulty is figure out any shot above 400 meters. Like
Hmm.
that gets tough, especially with wind, because
Hmm.
the scope zeroing basically does jack all, and you
Hmm.
just have to count your notches and hope that it's right, and just through trial and error learn how much it drops. And
That,
that's part of what took 100 hours to do.
yeah.
Um,
See, that's another thing that I wish Sniper Elite gave at least some form of like a visual cue, especially in five, in terms of telling the player information they need to know, and
mhm.
that's just wind direction.
Yeah, the wind direction you get a little bar left or right. But like as far as it goes with basically at least the scope zeroing works in 5
Hmm.
because that's the only tool you have aside from just guessing your shots, and it's kind of um for instance in any difficulty lower, you like if a shot is too far, you just press the space bar and steady your shot, and it gives you the reticle exactly where it needs to go. And very clearly does it for you. But there to find that there's no help in between telling you the answer and you having to make the shot, like in I think it was mission 4 or something. I think it was mission 4.
I think so.
Um, there's this one shot that you make from like basically that corner of the map castle to like the the V2
Hmm.
missile, hub area. There's this guard that I saw that like he's the furthest guy I could see out of anything aside from that, speck of a sniper somewhere in the
Hmm.
map that's dressed in dark clothes, like dark green clothes at night in a forest map. Um, I, re- I
Yeah.
really didn't mess with the night vision scope, but part of the problem is the night vision scope would have low zoom,
Yeah,
and
it only gives you ×3 zoom, so it's
authentic on
very.
authentic you can't you have authentic zooming, you can't adjust your zoom in, so 12 times is really like a 4 times.
Hmm.
It's like you're to get that authentic long shot, you're in your scope, it looks like a speck of a person. Like
Hmm.
they're standing at kind of like a they're standing in front of a post. So when I shot, I couldn't tell if they moved or not, and if I was just shooting at a wooden pole, and that was just enough to get the gold in that
Hmm.
uh, absolutely obscene shot that I had to save scope. Uh,
No, I mean,
and
and that's another issue is that to make a lot of these plausible, not just possible, just plausible, you have to really save scum because you don't get the information that you need to make these shots. And the fact that, there's just this one specific location, this one specific target where that shot is now possible to even make in the first place. you have to escape some because the moment you miss, they now realize you're shooting at them. They move around. It gets that much harder, and it becomes nearly impossible for you to make that shot
I mean,
because now there's
there
no means of knowing how they're going to move, react, run to, what have you.
when I tricked out my assault weapon, I ended up using the basically the assault rifle one. I mean, even with an iron sight, I was able to hit like some 150 200 meter people from
Yeah,
afar. Like looking down, I think adding the iron sight mechanic was cool.
yeah,
Uh,
definitely so.
and
Adding an iron sight mechanic, I think, is a very wise idea for a lot of shooters.
like I felt inclined to not really use the like in four. You if you didn't have an iron sight, you'd just have like a reticle. Or if you didn't have a scope, you'd basically have like a plus sign reticle, and you'd have to shoot based off of that. You basically can choose
Hmm.
between your scope or iron sight or that style aim. Um, and it was it's easier to use an iron sight than just look at the plus sign, especially with how much the level of customization of your aiming.
Yeah.
The only scenario I would say you would need to switch that is if you're using the pistol and you like I threw like a 12 times on my or an 8 times I think on my 1911, which is still a ridiculous scope
Oh
to
yeah.
I put I ended up putting like a stock 8 times scope, a freaking a foregrip, and my buddy who's real into guns is just like that is a war crime. This isn't just an atrocity to California. This is
This is an atrocity to the fact to guns in general.
they like to make jokes about how stringent the policies are in California, but like no, that this gun is a legitimate war crime. It should be classified as a rifle. Like and you can throw the bump stock on every pistol, and it just let the ultra customization with everything like that. Um, I guess there's also some the DLC through some attachments that I think were there's even like a rifle magazine that makes your shots quieter but less powerful. Um,
Yes, yes, there is.
And speaking about like long shots, I could not for life of me figure out how to get a shot over 300 meters on that map. So I definitely was able to get the Fier like
Hmm.
300, which was gold for him. But like, where am I supposed to find this like 400-meter shot or whatever? And
Exactly.
it seemed like a really odd number. It was not a flat number, which tells me that it's going to be a really stupid shot somewhere
Hmm.
on the map. And like I tried, I even tried shooting like the vehicle convoys that were continuous. But that would barely get me over 200 meters from any of the vantage points I was finding. Um, part of part of some of the difficulties was that I mean, if you compare it to um, I guess I suppose with five there was kind of some load zoney issues. I guess
Hmm.
for the life of me, I could not get the man to spawn. Like I spent an entire hour on that map before I could get uh him to spawn without uh you know triggering the alarms.
Hmm.
I sneak into the castle. I basically um go uh yeah, basically go up to what I think is the best vantage point, and the car isn't even there yet. So what I end up having to do with one of the alternative start locations, another gripe
Hmm.
back there, I have to go to one of the alternative start like locations. I have to go all the way to his little tea house. I have to wait for the car to park. I have to basically go to the front area, like so he loads in the car going to the tea house. I have to go
Hmm.
all the way, but the time he sits in the car for a long time.
Yeah.
Uh, So by the time that I'm able to sneak all the way up to basically his office and get a 300-meter shot, he's still in his car. Um, and like it was really finicky the scenario to get him to get out of the car, and there's the like a lakeside start as well. So I thought, oh, this will be cool and easy. I'll just like trip this electric water trap because there was a one of the last things he does in his day is he goes down to the lake all by himself, which I'm just like, cool. This is obviously the way that you do the kill Hitler and only Hitler, and maybe the do it undetected.
Mhm.
But like no, I let the game run for an hour while I was out and about, and he hadn't even spawned in yet. It's just like that. I think that it would make much more sense to do it off of a timer because in 4 that they did it off of a timer basically. He would if you wanted to put a bomb in his soup on that mission, you basically had to go like basically sprint through a secret passage, which came to you would learn this through experimentation and exploring the map in a fun way, and you'd find out that there's another path that if you can basically sprint through without being caught. That they actually made an achievement for basically bagging him within like 3 minutes, which if you go down this path it's pretty easy to do that in like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Basically he was on a timer, so you knew exactly how much time you had to before he would go taste the soup. So that was kind of a challenge to see if you could get the grenade in the soup fast enough.
Yeah.
And then like if you spent too much time, the worst that would happen is he would stand under a podium where you can shoot a giant like metal eagle statue to fall on him. So it gives you ample opportunity to do these optional kills on like a timer instead of like you basically have to get close enough for his load zone, then you have to sneak back up to his manor, and then you have to put the specific trap you want. And maybe they wanted to give people time to basically because there's a good amount of traps put in that mansion. Like there's only achievement for basically making him fall off the ledge in the tea house. And the one for the bowling pin. So there's one for the tea house and one for the manor. But there's a lot of unrelated non-achievement kill parameters.
Yeah.
Like there was you could poison a couple times. I think there's a poison option in the tea house and the
Yes, there is options for both in the manor and the tea house.
yeah. There's multiple, so I think
There's also the rat bomb
yeah.
methods, killing him while he's over by the lake, killing him with the car at the tea house.
There's the bowling pin one. I'm glad that they made that an achievement. I would
Yeah, that one's got fun.
yeah, no, it was kind of it's kind of almost. I think that the rat bomb one would be the most challenging one to pull off. So I'm kind of sad that they didn't like make that an achievement.
Yeah.
Like there was in 4, there's basically an achievement for every parameter. So there's not.
There's no wasted kills per se. Like, you do one thing
yeah.
that's super difficult and then, no real reward.
With its mission, there was in relation to 4, there wasn't a lot of incentive to explore the other kills if you were looking for achievement, other than just. I mean, there's nothing stopping you from, aside from the game is too new. It is not a great time to look up stuff about the game because there is about 3 to 5 people posting things. Like, of course, you can find your day 100% walkthrough where they find all the envelopes and the letters and crap, but there's no one telling you where to make those long shots. There's no guides out yet. because the game just dropped.
Exactly.
And if you look at it with 4, you might, if you look enough, you might be able to find somebody who's basically killed Hitler every way in this DLC. But it's just due time that this sort of thing will come out eventually. God, but speaking about the rat bomb mission 4, the thumbnail for this and basically, I saw that when I was initially playing, and I can't believe Carl was just like, rat bomb, SOE classic, straight out of the playbooks, and I'm sitting there like,
Yeah, like what the fuck?
okay, Carl Fairburn, I have a question. I think SOE is some sort of British intelligence unit. But basically, I want to know why, this is a classic. As in, SOE has too much time on their hands that they're just sticking C4 down like a taxidermied rat. And they do it consistently enough to call
To
it
where it's a classic.
and straight out of the playbook, like they're trying to bag Castro or whatever. I mean, there's some crazy stories about that. So maybe it's a reference to the absolutely batshit insane things that the militaries across the world had tried to do.
Heck, that's something. A little side fact that I could actually double check for us is that my place of employment plus my family connections put me in connection with a bunch of military people across different branches.
Yeah.
My dad was in the Navy. There is a frequent person over at my work who comes in regularly who was part of the, I want to say, Army for a number of years and has, information, and stories to tell for hours. So something like this, I could very easily, check with a bunch of people who lived this, worked this, studied this for years and years and years of their life. So this is, I'll double check on this and I'll report back to Twisty and hopefully we'll have a little update on that.
Yeah, just flash it on the screen or something.
Exactly.
But basically, I mean, I guess I've played through the entire series. I guess quick rundown of the lore is it's sort of in reverse chronological, but sort of out of order, sort of like the Star Wars movies. But basically, yeah, you have this guy who is the best soldier in existence. He was born in the British embassy, I believe, for Germany. Carl Fairburn was basically, his father was an intelligence agent, and then naturally, because of the circumstance, he grew up learning perfect German and English, which helped him be the world's best sniper spy or whatever. And let me tell you, in 2005 that Sniper Elite 1 came out, it was kind of what you'd expect from a game of the time. I guess if we want to hark on controls, we can be grateful that Sniper Elite, the first game, got a lot of the control mechanics out of the way for us, because it was during the time when nobody else was making video games. Modern FPSs hadn't really
caught on and caught
yet.
fire. So a lot of the basic premises that we're accustomed to, thanks to some of these FPS games that have released in more modern years, were not so known or common.
Yeah, there's a lot of it's actually a really interesting psychological case to say that there are a lot of implied controls that we don't even think about. It's the reason why, even if the button symbols are different between Nintendo, Xbox, PlayStation, you can press the buttons and know what they do the first time without looking at them if you have
Yeah,
been
an
playing
actual
video
good
games
example
for
of
a long
that is
time.
between, say, Xbox and the Switch. For the Switch, they swapped the positions of the A and B button, but the relative roles for those buttons stayed the same.
Plus,
So
you
jump is no longer A, it's B,
mhm.
but B is now where A used to be, so it makes sense. And the
Plus
same can be said
you
kind of
can
with a lot of Japanese games.
remap it to whatever you end up being most comfortable with, so then you may be
Hmm.
playing PlayStation on Xbox basically. But for historical sense, throw all that out the window. You control your movement speed with the scroll wheel, right? You want to you switch your fucking you switch
Yep.
your equipment with the plus and minus keys. You will zoom in and out of your you'll basically get to control the zoom of your scope on your sniper with the brackets buttons. Um you cannot hotkey items. Like you can't say, you can do 1, 2, 3 for your weapons, but you can't do 4, 5, 6 for your equipment, right?
Hmm.
You have to go to another pair of buttons to basically cycle your equipment. And
Hmm.
as soon as I opened up this game, it was the controls were so janky. I was brought back in time when the thing a lot of it is it had the old holdout of some of those like old you know
Hmm.
1997
Still
style.
figuring out
Yeah,
this,
like
how
the
controls are
basically
supposed to
the
work.
kind of war simulator, like Heart of Iron style, like um, uh, games that are out there. Forget the names of them. I used to play one when I was little. Um, but basically, there's Sniper Elite followed some of the framing of that, where like these games were new. They were, breaking genre. You could finally make games like this within the technology. And controls were whatever they like. They were just whatever. If you told me in any game that like, there's a reason games nowadays have a sprint button
Hmm.
because controlling your movement speed with a scroll wheel is fucking insane.
It's terrible.
Um,
It's
uh,
I've tried it once when I heard that it used to be a thing, and I just couldn't do it.
um, and like,
It boggles my mind as much as people. This is not a rag on anyone who does this,
yeah,
by the way. This is just something that I'm not. I just can't do myself. But people who like change their FOV in games with the scroll wheel.
yeah, and it's like it would almost make more sense for you to control your zoom. Like, it makes sense in the modern time to say that, like, without a doubt, your zoom should be scroll wheel. And if you were to, for some reason, not have a sprint button, and because a sprint button is way easier than having a precise speed dial
Hmm.
by pressing up or down on buttons.
Yeah,
Um,
because normally when you need to go fast, it's kind of an instantaneous, oh shit, I
mhm.
gotta move type deal. So having that fine degree of control can be a
And
hindrance in that regard when you have to just fucking book it.
the thing is this speed thing applies to you have your whatever detection rating on how fast you're going,
Hmm.
and like that whether they see you or whether they hear you in game. The scroll wheel movement applies to your crawl, your prone, your run. So with your standing, you can if you're crawling and you have your wheel all the way down, you basically won't move. You'll have like zero speed, and you have to scroll the wheel up to. But what I'm glad is that the game allowed certain like overlaps in the control, because I bound zoom and movement to the scroll wheel.
Hmm.
But yeah, with how janky that game was, it still had all of the core essence of what I felt Sniper Elite was. as an idea. The idea, you know, it like you even had like you had like in-depth mission briefings where you had to read like paragraphs and they showed you maps and there's stuff circled and you had targets and other crap.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
but one of the more unique things is, because of my expectations of the future games, I went in, just used ammo as I pleased because, I'll get more ammo in the next mission, it'll reset. But no, I went to the next mission and I had no pistol ammo after the first mission, and the second mission is stealth mission.
Yep.
You have a small resupply on on the start of each mission that will not. It's more like a pick me up than a refill. Uh,
It's more like here's a boost to push you a little bit, but we ain't gonna fucking, get you going to 100% again.
yeah.
Here's a band-aid when you need fucking a splint.
Um. Yeah. So you could basically, I had to go through a stealth mission with like 5 suppressed pistol shots. Uh. And you know, Carl and his
Really make those fucking 5 bullets count.
Carl and his 5 polygons, made it. And the the thing that the thing that'll compare to now is in that mission, if you went loud on normal mode before you snuck in and like there's a big explosion and it became loud by like a cutscene, the initial sneak in section on like normal difficulty, if you were loud, you were not getting past that. It was just not happening. I think that's something that we've kind of railroaded. Results are kind of people have let go of in the modern sense of video games, but we try to dial it down with this. With 4, like on authentic difficulty, you could you have implied stealth, but you you had limited amount of suppressed ammo, and you couldn't the suppressed rifles didn't come till DLC. And like in 4, if you're using a suppressed rifle, it just isn't quite as fun. With 5, you can throw a suppressor on your rifle, but people will still hear it. It would just keep the whole map from being alerted. And honestly, that was helpful through. You basically had a meter rating of how much range, so 50 meters of sound is enough that there are only a few rifles that you can get that quiet without compromising the damage entirely. But obviously the guy across the map who you're doing the long shot isn't going to hear you no matter what, even if you have the loud rifle.
Exactly.
But 50 meters is enough that people will get suspicious. In the immediate area, you can't. You're gonna have to use the suppressed ammo for that. But basically, in 4 on authentic, especially, it was able to punish you in a way that if you were loud, you had to be deliberate and you had to pick out all of the problems. And if you had to hold out in an assault, you would need a lot of luck, or you need to be quite skilled to get out of that pinch. But in 5, you can pretty much run in as loud as you want on authentic, and as long as you have a quick ADS on your secondary weapon, you don't even if you want, you can slap a suppressor on your assault rifle to cut down the detection radius. But if you know where to go on the map, you can just basically run through quite easily. And there are quite a few, find any staircase ramp with a banister hallway, and you can be as loud as you want, and the enemies do not have the capability to stop you. And whereas with 3, Sniper Elite 3, their I didn't like that game, but it was everything that you needed to basically give for the proper framework.
Yeah.
Um, Basically, with 3, the way that they punished you for the hardest difficulty was they
Hmm.
basically, it wasn't even the UI removal made anything difficult. It was, because you could see how much blood you had on your face, and you could, how
Yeah.
heavy the breathing, the heart rate, and obvious stuff like that. But in Sniper Elite 3, they basically took away like all of your ammo. They basically gave you a handful of bullets and said that you needed to. They would not give you enough ammo, like, to get through the mission properly, and it was very difficult
Mm.
to sneak around. And like, it was framed in a way that you had to be loud, in my opinion. Like, it was, the maps were
Hmm.
sort of, they're quite linear maps. Um, there's a direct path. It might be like it might be a C curve, or it might be, sort of a V or something like that. But
Yeah.
there's a implied movement in sort of a railroad direction that wasn't too hard to figure out, and that's what I feel open world games struggle with nowadays. Is people don't want to be railroaded, but people don't want to run around forever.
Yeah.
Uh,
Like that's what it comes down with games design, to where there needs to be enough guidance to the player to where they know what they need to do and where they need to go, but there needs to be enough freedom to the player to where they can choose when they want to go to where, essentially.
Basically, I didn't go through 3 on Sniper. Like, I went on, like, the most I'd do is hard mode, maybe normal, because it just it's not like I was needing the aim assist, but it was just they starved the ammo so badly
Mm.
that it was quite difficult to sneak through a map with a implied railroaded, easy to have confrontation map. Um, and even if you sat right next to a generator and made a sound cover and started shooting people, you get caught pretty easily. And the ammo pickups aren't quite generous. Whereas with 5, um, I basically, on authentic difficulty, I would find a stubborn unit, and I would just like blow through like 30 bullets, and then like I would just run around and grab found weapons and take the ammo
Hmm.
from it.
Yep.
I think there were I think I have a really easy fix for making authentic difficult. And they did it in 4. Is basically you play through the entire game, in 4, and you progressively get levels, which give you more skills, and you get those. You get to pick out different. You can pick out the skills for your
Replay
survival
style.
profile. But the thing is, when you go on authentic, you lose all your superpowers.
Hmm.
You lose your health boost. You lose all your skills, which give you all these bonuses that make the game easier to your customizable degree.
Yeah.
And I think for a game mode called Authentic, that should make sense.
Yeah.
Uh,
I agree.
and they're
Because at that point, you're removing the Superman aspect of this game,
yeah,
where you are the best, you are this, but now
they're
you're just a guy.
the I'd say with them adding self revive, that was kind of a it's kind of a weird choice, making that a fundamental level 1 upgrade.
Hmm.
Um, and the fact that you can self revive with bandages or medkit.
Yeah,
Um,
because normally that kind of skill is saved for like an end of a skill tree.
um, but basically, I guess if you're going in co op and you need to revive somebody else, you need to use a medkit on them.
Hmm.
But they could just use the all of their bandages for a revive. I think they should rework the if they want it to be difficult, they should rework the all of the bandage revive upgrade into
Hmm.
it should use 3 bandages. Um, and that kind of cuts a little into the survival mode because in survival you can have 4 bandages. So
Hmm.
using all of your bandages could be a little more detrimental. But like if you're on the ground bleeding out, what choice do you have?
Exactly.
But the thing is, what I'll end up doing really is I'll like have 2 bandages left, and then I'll revive with 2 bandages. Um, and the AI doesn't even shoot you when you're down on authentic, even. They will once you're down, they will walk around like they've given up, and then you can whip out your gun and shoot them. And as soon as your gun is down, kind of they forget about you. So it's like a free reload
Hmm.
almost. You can gun down the people around you, and then
Uh,
start your revive. Um,
yeah.
if there's another upgrade specifically, I thought it was tremendously easy to get fully upgraded in the game, and like if I had like an alternative profile mode or something, like I could make another profile and like wipe my levels, just
Hmm.
to give myself more of a challenge on authentic. I might have found it difficult, but basically the there's no strain whatsoever on ammo because I can just grab the found weapons around me and fill up my ammo. And like when you reload, you lose excess ammo, but there's like 10 guns lying around from the group that you cleared out. So, uh, you know, they have 8 to 5 bullets in each of them for the sniper rifles. Pistols might have 4. The assault rifle, there's going to be a lot of MP5s with like 30 bullets in them. So
Hmm.
not only can you grab a found weapon, which I like the found weapon mechanic, I don't think you should be able to take the ammo out.
Mm.
I think that ends up making ammo too easy to access. Uh, and
Yeah, I can see that.
and I think it could just be made better if they said if you're on authentic difficulty, you are level 0 because there's a lot of the pressure that they can apply to you. Um, the whole when you're down, you basically uh like if you're not careful, you run around a corner being loud, somebody will just one shot you,
Hmm.
and your worst consequence is you basically second wind shoot them and then use a med kit to revive yourself. And then um honestly the upgrade of having improved drops, like they didn't scale that in well enough with reduced drops. So like it's too easy to replenish things, and like you'll just find a med kit on the guy that you killed.
Exactly. Yeah, like
Um,
you could be close to dying. You have no healing fast, and the moment you kill somebody, you're like, oh, there goes all my health problems.
yeah, basically with that, you you it it's not really. I would For me, I don't know if I just became an epic video gamer and I'm just too good at Sniper Elite to the point that I need
There's no more challenge to this
there's
anymore.
no challenge left. But like you know, campaign super easy to level through. Like there's basically no point in having the XP bonus from the Axis invasions, which I thought the invasions were a pretty neat mechanic.
Hmm.
If you do have the game, I would say maybe on your first playthrough, don't have it on, unless you want to. Uh,
Unless you want that
But
extra challenge, yeah.
basically, you'll find, I think, my personal theory is the longer that the game exists, the the less casual people will be on. And the thing is,
Hmm.
the casual people aren't going to enable the invasions. And I know like certain people were freaking out, being like, every game is becoming like Dark Souls with invasion mechanics. This is cringe. But it's you have to flip. Even with Elden Ring, you had to flip a switch on to be invaded in the first
Hmm.
place. Um,
You either have to summon or just flip the switch.
mhm. And basically, the invasion mechanic, um, uh, on some maps it can be fun. Other maps it on the second map I could if I got invaded, depending on the type of person that invaded me, I
Hmm.
could easily just finish the mission and be in and out before they find me.
Hmm.
I know, unless they were to get some sort of a notification for me completing objectives, I think I could slip out pretty reliably without them finding me.
So
Uh,
with invasions, the depending on the skill tree that they have in most, like if you beat the campaign, you pretty much have your invasion skill tree
um,
fully
no,
maxed out.
you on base, I believe, have the invader has all of their skills maxed out already.
Hmm.
So it's more or less just a tutorial of the things that you have is your skill tree. Some I'll say,
Gotcha.
um, I don't know if they, in my opinion, maybe they should have separated survival XP from campaign XP
I think
because
they should have, yeah.
I thought it was neat that they're connected initially,
Mhm.
um, but it was quite easy to fully max out. And I mean, I'm not looking to play survival mode on authentic. Um,
Oh God, no.
the thing is about the loudness is in the story mode where you have the choice to avoid conflict. Like if if there's a soldier, a lone soldier in front of you, and you get caught, it is much faster to sprint over to them and punch them in the face
Yep.
than it is to switch weapons.
Like the only time I had issues with that strategy is just with the Jaeger units, which
Mm-hmm.
become a lot more frequent as the game progresses, but even then,
Even
they're not frequent
you
enough
can
to
you can
where it
do
poses too
a
much of a challenge.
you can do a fun little thing where you shove them and then try to, if you do it right, you can run circles in them and then just snap their neck from
Are you
behind.
serious?
Yeah, if you just go ring around a rosy, you can just like get the behind takedown, and it sometimes counts as like a stealth animation or whatever, and it's just no,
That's that's wild.
it's funny. I'd say if you are going to get this game, and you basically are just like, I'm going to max out the weapons. If you if you plan on doing the online mode, I would avoid using the first weapon you get so much, because basically in the online multiplayer PvP, progression is really slow. So you're gonna be using weapons that you maxed your prestige for. So there's no point in working towards that medal on. Like, there's only one rifle that I can do that for, and I'm like 3 headshots away from getting the gold medal with that
Hmm.
rifle, and I'm like 10 ranks away, which is probably going to be like 20 games.
Hmm.
I don't know. It's going to be a ridiculous amount of games. I don't think. Let's say like good games where I'm like leaderboard. You know.
Where you just carried, you just dominated.
And the thing is, I don't know if it's just this region, but they have a real hard time filling lobbies in the multiplayer.
Mm-hmm.
And in a competitive multiplayer scene where I feel like they gotta do something. Like, you know how like Halo, Call of Duty, they do like XP weekends or something like that. Like
Yeah.
they've got to do something to promote, like, if you play during this time you get more XP. But like obviously the campaign is the main focus.
Yeah.
So it, you can tell that in the map design. There's this one map that's like a Normandy beach invasion.
Mm.
If you spawn beachside, good fucking luck. You're like a baby turtle on the beach.
Trying to
Uh,
survive.
it is it is literally D-Day. You basically spawn on the low ground while there are a bunch of snipers on the top of a hill, and like you can see 10 sniper glints, and like
Ah,
there are in every map. The map design isn't great. There are specific sides that if you can hold that side of the map, you win. You absolutely win.
mm,
They the map design, it wasn't the forefront, so like I personally wouldn't get this game solely for the multiplayer PvP.
yeah.
Uh
Also, so to bring us away from the gameplay sections of this discussion, just a little bit.
huh.
I want to talk about some of the more technical aspects of this game that confuse me so currently I am going into college for a bachelor's for software engineering.
Yep.
I'm learning how to program, learning how to, different languages, syntax, basic practices and general things that are done within programming and development and such. Uh, Still very early on, still very much a novice when it comes to the development framework. I still have a lot to learn, so take what I say with just a grain of salt to where I know what I'm talking about, but if I say something wrong, I may not have just come to experience this or learn this as of yet.
Yeah.
But from that perspective, there's a few aspects of this game that don't make a lot of sense as to why it functions the way it does. This could be just a odd workaround to development issues they encountered while creating the game. This could just be an odd bug that never really was caught or wasn't big enough to really warrant a fix in their eyes. But something that me and Twisty both realized very early on to start off with is when you kill the driver or a key
Oh yeah.
actor of a vehicle. This could be someone driving the car, this could be a unit nearby the car that could be working on it or patrolling around it or something. In the majority of cases, very few cases I've found where this is not the case, where if you kill that actor and they're dead, you can booby trap or whatever the heck, the vehicle almost immediately disappears after it has left the camera space for just maybe 10 to 30 seconds. Because there have been times, I just search a body, I turn around, I tag a few enemies, I turn back around, and the vehicle's gone. It's fucked the fuck
You
off.
know, I think vehicles have problems, a lot of problems. But something deep down inside of me, I really wanted to drive the motorcycles, no matter how buggy that would have
Yeah.
been. And
Yeah.
if there's some modder out there that has the dream to make Sniper Elite 5 go-karts, fucking do it. Uh, I don't.
Let us live out our Mario Kart dreams in
I don't
Sniper
know.
Elite.
I think Bloodborne Kart is a thing that's happening right now. But
Oh, I got to look into that. I haven't heard of that yet, but
yeah,
I'll
but
look into that.
basically, uh, fan project thing. Yeah, basically, there's a lot of problems surrounding the vehicles. I feel. I know, like, I'm not a stickler for like cosmetic bug things that don't have
Mhm.
a effect on gameplay. Uh,
Mhm.
Basically, I get that some vehicles should be uh, basically. I think it's the first map that's just really bad about this because of the size of it. I know
No,
that
it's the full game. I experienced this for pretty much in every map because I did some testing to. So
there
when we
is.
first discovered this bug,
Yeah.
Twisty, you suggested that the issue was, oh, this might be an issue with, infinite spawning. If you kill the car and there's now a pile up of cars, if the cars keep spawning, there's going to be a problem there.
Traffic, if you can somehow get the car to stay loaded in by not like killing the entity that is attached to the car, because sometimes if the map is large, like the first map is very large, so like I think casually going through without picking off everybody, you can easily kill 180 soldiers.
Hmm.
um so if you go all the way across the map, I'm pretty sure some of the bodies just get deleted. Uh, and
Yeah, so
so with that,
that
the cars, if they don't despawn, cause a big pile up. And sometimes if you get them to flee the car, especially on the DLC mission, you can easily create a multi-car pile up.
well, that's the thing is that with these cars. So I did a lot of testing across several maps, even the DLC map to double check this, and I experienced this several times. If there are multiple cars piled up in the pathing of an envoy, let's say, they don't just stay there. They will continue moving. They'll move around the obstacle and then return to their basic path. So there won't be any issues with pileups because I did this where, I killed one car, let a car come up, killed that car, let a motorcycle come up and killed that motorcycle, and a motorcycle came up, drove around it. Car came up, drove around all of it.
Well, I've seen personally when a really big truck comes around and tries to pathfind, but then sometimes it'll get stuck, and then the driver will get out, and then maybe a motorcycle or a small vehicle will get around. But if the car gets stuck, or they
Hmm.
feel that they can't follow the path anymore, the driver will get out. Is what
Yeah,
I've seen. Um,
that will also happen, but
but with the
in
cars,
those situations I found have not been very common,
yeah,
as most roads in the game are designed to be two-lane pathways. So it is very easy for a lot of cars. The only time I really experienced cars unable to pathfind around certain sections of the game was when an armored vehicle was at the head and had broken down for some reason,
yeah,
uh, whatever reason you may have, caused. But if that were the case, then cars would not move around the armored vehicle, which might just be a bug, might be intended. I can't really say for sure. But from what I've seen in the game and from what I know games are capable of doing, this should not really be an issue unless something went wrong during development to where leaving too many vehicles unattended caused some type of, memory spike or lag issue or performance drop or something.
yeah.
And that in and of itself would come down to an issue inside of the coding of the cars themselves. So that's where I kind of find the problem is that they probably saw this issue and instead of trying to fix the cars, focus resources on just implementing a quick fix solution. This in and of itself,
Yeah,
I feel, does detriment gameplay to a degree because there have been times, especially like on the Spy Academy mission,
yeah.
where I ended up sniping most of my frontal assault, or most of my frontal like gateway
And
problems
yeah, this
from the
that
spawn-in location.
it's a nice open long sniping location. I think
Hmm.
they want you to get like a 700-meter shot for gold. Which I'm
Uh,
I'm having a hard time even figuring that out.
there's a location. If
I
you,
think I think I'm gonna have to go top the church. That's the only thing that makes sense.
yeah, that's what makes sense to me as well. But with that level specifically, right? What happened to me was I, assaulted her. I took out all of my enemies, and then I realized, shit, I can't take my guys down here from this position because when the motorcycle comes through, it's gonna see the dead bodies, and it's gonna cause a whole fucking kerfuffle. I don't want to deal with that. So took out all of them, went down to the beach, took out my guys, took out the uh, motorcycle. It was sitting right next to me, and I took a look through my binoculars and saw that I had missed a couple of people that I could now see from my current position. So my idea was perfect. Let's sound mask with this motorcycle that's now literally right next to me, and I'll be able to take these guys out no problem. I exit my binoculars, look over, and the motorcycle's gone.
Yeah, that's the
Which,
problem. Is like if you're gonna have such a problem with loading and like having stuff disappear when it's actively being used,
mhm.
I would say just take away the option to sound mask slash sabotage, because especially sabotage, you don't want to be standing next to the thing that you're trying to
Mhm.
sabotage, obviously, because it explodes. And
Yeah, so you're
something
gonna have to go away from it, and if that vehicle then despawns, your carefully laid machinations and planning is now fruitless.
there's a ribbon for getting vehicle kills, and like I'm not sure like what exactly you have to do to get that to count, but it just doesn't like to count right now. Um,
I think that might just be an issue with you, Twisty, because I had no problem with that. Actually, I meant to message you about that, but I think
oh
that
yeah,
might just be a bug on your side. Uh,
possibly. Um, but yeah, essentially,
Other issues that I've
the
seen in terms of the development,
mhm.
backside of the game is like we were discussing before, the ledge interactions mechanics are
Yeah, there are
they have a lot to be desired, and I feel that in a game like this, that should have been polished a lot more than it currently stands.
yeah,
As inter like especially with as a sniping game, verticality in games like this is incredibly important. Being able to ascend and descend as needed is integral to making shots that you need to make to progress. And
yeah,
so having a system to where you're able to very cleanly, efficiently, and reliably move from point to point should be a priority in every sense. The issue then stands as that, as Twisty mentioned before, there's a few places in the game where you can just fall out of the map if you position yourself wrong on a ledge.
I've only
Uh,
found one, but then it implies that you should be careful around ramps on terrain.
mhm,
But I think that map in particular is just pretty buggy.
mhm,
Um, Now I did go around testing the Satchel Charge like clip through thing that I
mhm,
mentioned. And basically it works on some missions, but the trend that I saw, I think, is the more missions they make, the buggier things seem to be,
mhm.
because that mission in particular is quite buggy. And even all the way down to like the first few missions, I tested all of the safes I could find, and I didn't seem to be able to grab the contents through the safe, which if you can just cut the work out of getting the key in some cases, like uh in some cases it's like something that would help you on every run, not just like grabbing intel for the first time, but being able
Yeah.
to grab supplies out of a safe by putting a satchel charge on it. You lose a satchel charge, you don't have to find the key, and you can just quietly grab the contents. And if you do end up finding the key, you can unlock it normally, and you get the satchel charge back. Um,
Mhm.
and with that, it especially once you get to max rank, you can just add a satchel charge to your
And
equipment, So
Yeah, and you're
you
good.
just have one extra satchel charge, so you can just bypass one code in certain situations. But as far as what you're talking about with verticality, I think the fact that they heavily advertised, the implication is that Spy Academy was the map that they were using when they were making the trailers, but
Hmm.
you play through Spy Academy and it doesn't really seem like there's stuff that was promised that you don't necessarily get to do, and I think Spy Academy was because there's a large vertical climb up castle. I mean, Carl even in the mission talks about how I'm still climbing up. This is a rigorous climb or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, the mention of that, basically, I think that was the only mission that had good use of ziplining.
Hmm.
And basically, that was one of the selling points. It was right in the trailer. I think the trailer had two selling points in my mind: the zip lines and the invasion mechanic.
Yeah.
Um, and on the invasion mechanic, I have a major issue with the inlaid progression that they had. I guess
Hmm.
if I compare this to just a random roguelike, West of Dead, when I played it, it was it was in beta. It hadn't fully been out yet.
Hmm.
So much like Dead Cells, you spend your points to unlock new weapons that can show up on your routes. Except all of the weapons in this, because the game hadn't been fully released yet,
Hmm.
all the weapons cost like 4 times their like intended value, and
Because they
that
weren't meant to really be achieved yet, but if people were willing to try to bug test them and try them out, they had that
um,
option.
basically it was so people would they hadn't fully released the game, and they needed people to still be entertained, so they made it so it takes longer to get um those new weapons, so you don't just rush through the game before it's even complete and then just put it down.
Yep.
So, once they had finished the game and put it out, and I think they might have already posted a DLC to it, or added more content to the game, but as soon as they finished the initial game, all of those prices dramatically dropped. And it was
Yeah.
just like, I wasted all this time upgrading crap. But I got to the point in that game through the amount of runs that I did, through the risk reward factor,
Hmm.
to basically, I kind of liked the guns that I had, so I didn't want to unlock all of the guns because some of them were bad.
Yeah.
um, so I basically put enough points to make sure that everything had 1 point left, and then when I did that last run, I just swept out all of the weapons. Um,
Yeah.
you know, but by then I had already beat the game, so I didn't have a clogged pool of weapons. So that analogy, what I'm meaning to bring it back to, is
Hmm.
uh, maybe the reason that they have these XP accumulation for the PvP aspect of the game is the reason it's slow is to extend playtime, and maybe by the time that the game's been out for years and that all the DLC is out, that they'll cut the requirement. Because if I go through and keep playing through DLC, I don't know if they would. I don't know if they're gonna address the fact that the, there's no point in getting XP in the campaign when you're fully maxed out. Um, but basically, right now, if you want to get the new equipment or new skins for the Axis invasion, you
Hmm.
I think you have to get 100 successful lobbies. to get everything, basically.
Interesting.
And like, of course, when you when you finish, you can basically rematch if you like to do that. And there are people who just play the game to invade people, to work on that progression. And I ended up killing somebody who had 50 kills at least because they had that skin. And I was just like, wow, we played a real long game of cat and mouse.
Yeah.
Over that, and just like, this dude has been doing this for at least 50. Because the 100 is the ghillie suit, which is probably the most beneficial. Especially in the map he was trying to get me in. But I needed at least one survival of an Axis invasion for the achievement. Yeah, like, I hope maybe after DLC comes out, they'll make progressing a lot easier on the PvP end.
Yeah.
Because mechanically how it works with the PvP is you have the same type of equipment, but there's 50 ranks as opposed to 40 ranks in single player. And each rank you get a point.
Yeah.
And you know how you have the radial upgrade stuff?
Yeah.
You have your main skill tree, which is just your general skills, like, and such, and then you can pick one of 4, like, secondary trees. And once you max out a tree, basically you get additional XP in certain parameters. So, like, the main tree, your primary skills, once you max that out, you get more XP for one-shot kills, which is the primary way you're going to be killing people. So
Yep.
And the reason I mentioned something about progression with the rifles is it's a sniping game. You're gonna, unless you're running around with an SMG in certain maps and certain scenarios, for the most part, you're going to be getting 100-meter kills at least, and that's 100-meter headshots is the parameter that you need to get the mastery with the weapon. It is quite easy to get mastery with the assault weapon. I mean, even without the survival mode is just the easiest way to do it, I think, because you just get kills. But something funny you can do if you want to max out your secondaries is you need ghost kills, right?
Yeah.
And you might be like, oh man, I have to scrounge up enough suppressed ammo for this very loud revolver to get ghost kills with it. But no, you can just run around, punch a bunch of people in the face, wait till everyone's face has been punched,
and then just shoot them when no one can hear you.
Yeah, you can make them unconscious and then shoot them in the head. And we just I guess, I when this game first came out, I was just like, oh, this is interesting. You have the choice between lethal and non-lethal takedowns. And some random, like, terminally online individual came up with this really weird take. And, like, the thing is, this person was quoting a YouTube video as well of, like, a popular creator. I don't remember the name, and I'm not going to dig it up. Basically, they're saying that they're just like, by implying that you can non-lethally take down the Nazis, you're a fascist. It's just like, no, this is a game about sneaking around. They wanted to reward you more XP for doing a quiet job. And, like, the non-lethal takedown and hiding them in the bushes, the reason I'm bringing this up is because I did not know the answer to this, and the answer is it's more XP if you don't outright kill them, because you...
That and the challenge factor as well, because
it is a
if you knock them out and somebody's found, then
they
resource you spent knocking them out, whether it's a non-lethal bullet or time, is now wasted because now they're back on the playing field.
That is something I'll mention about the bullet typing. I thought it was a weird choice to bring bullet typing into a World War II style game. Like, what was the series you were talking about? I think it's a really
Sniper Ghost Warrior contract specifically. The
Okay, yeah.
Sniper Ghost Warrior field in general has always had bullet typing, but the contracts ones are the more recent and better developed ones, in my opinion.
It makes sense in that case because you have you're going with the high technology.
Mm-hmm.
Bless you. Yep. Thank you. Basically, with that, the high technology you're leaning into it makes more sense. But with a historical game, you're going to be wanting to lean into historics more. And that's, in my opinion, why the German pickups have always been bad. Is for balancing reason. I think it's solely a balancing reason thing because like if you can just pick up every German weapon, what is the appeal of sticking to your limited ammo sourcing when there is unlimited German SMGs on the ground?
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the what made there be no such like ammo constraint is because the game assumes that all calibers mix the same. Basically, you just have you have primary, secondary, and sidearm ammo, and it's all treated the same. The fact that they just simplified that into that basically makes it so it's practically impossible to run out of ammo unless
I
you're...
think there was one case in my entire playthrough where I ran out of pistol ammo, but I was out of pistol ammo for all of like, I think 3 minutes before I was able to get another like 25 pieces of ammo plus a full clip.
Yeah, if you're running around, like, if you're sneaking around a complex and only using... The only scenario you run out of an ammo is if you're solely only using that ammo type. And with the found weapons, you come across you're shooting several people with, I put the 8x scope on my pistol. And then, eventually you're going to run into one of the commandos, which always have a pistol. And sometimes, if you get into close range, even Jiggers will pull out a Model D sidearm. So then that's 4 bullets right there. The commando has 12. You're going to find a cache of ammo types. And I'm fine with them having, aside from the realism, normal caliber and then subsonic rounds. But when they added the piercing bullets, the
soft point.
I didn't really use soft point at all.
Neither did I really. I felt soft point. So here's my take on it. I would say is that bullet typing did somewhat exist, if I remember correctly, back during this time period. So having, say, like armor penetrative rounds and
that makes sense, but
match point
wooden bullets.
Wooden bullets also did exist, but those were mainly used for trading purposes. So in theory, if they were like, oh, we're experimenting with a non-lethal round, here, try this.
I mean, if you the V2 research facility that gave you the in-lore explanation that the Germans have come up with these miraculous ammo types to basically try to win the war, which I kind of find funny because, take a grain of salt, this is just word of a friend. German weapon, ammunition manufacturing was absolute garbage in the 40s.
Yeah.
The reason, the Luger, people go on about the whole German engineering thing, but the truth is, the modern Luger is it's quite good pistol, has good.
But it's a far cry from what it was during initial conception.
The thing is, it was absolute garbage in the Second World War, because the bullets were garbage. So when people whine that, like, the Luger, like in Sniper Elite 4, I think the German weapons just outright sucked. Like,
Hmm.
but I think that could have either been a historical reference to how they manufactured the bullets at the time, or it could just be a balancing issue of, you're gonna find this everywhere, so why would we give you a
Maybe.
better a
Yeah.
better like weapon if you're just gonna find it on the field? I've kind of been yelled at for this before by a couple friends, but with Halo, you see the opposite, where
Hmm.
like these are limited like super alien weapons, and in some cases there's alien weapons that are good, some cases there are alien weapons that are bad, but the good alien weapons are going to be extremely limited. You're only gonna find like I don't remember the names, but you're only gonna find like one of the fucking snipers, and like there you might find some needler with most of its ammo in it, but like it's a funky space weapon. You know the odds are whatever good weapon exists that's just better than the others, depending on the game. It's
Hmm.
gonna be you're either going to start with it and run out of the ammo quickly, or you're gonna find it halfway through the map and it's not gonna last very long. Uh,
Yeah.
Obviously, uh, Halo is not Sniper Elite. Uh,
Very, very different games, very
a
different
little,
philosophies
a
there.
little, a little different, but like,
But this same type of concept does still apply, in my opinion, because at this point we're just talking about being able to find secondary weapons that
balance.
are either hard to refill or impossible to refill, that are carried by enemies that either spawn indefinitely or are just in very plentiful amount.
Yeah, I think if I were to put a synopsis on it, um, I'd say that I don't like. All in all, I don't know if I would say that I prefer Sniper Elite 4. But that's to be said that Sniper Elite 4 had, by the time I played it, all of the DLC was out. So any bugs that would have existed have been ironed out, and you know, there. I think favorite thing was there's this DLC shotgun that I had, and something you'll see that you don't have in 5 is they simplified the weapon typing. There is no shotgun. Basically, there's this DLC shotgun that was based off of a real historic weapon, the drilling. And it's basically a shotgun, a double barrel shotgun that has a rifle down the
Hmm.
middle. And that's, it's a real thing. And the thing is, Rebellion actually did their research. They talked to people. There's a reason in Sniper Elite 5, the first weapon you use, like, there's a cutscene where you're using, like, I think it's like the Strem or something like that, and you see, like, in one of the first cutscenes, you see Carl pump the rifle, and it's just like, okay, that looks really goofy. What the heck was that, Carl? Um,
Hmm.
and like I looked into that. That's a real rifle, but like it was a highly experimental single rifle. And like I've heard the complaint from the person. They're just like, I can't believe they didn't have my Mosin, or like people that call a game bad because the M1 Grand isn't in it. You know, like some people on the internet are just addicted to their one video game gun that I'm pretty sure they've never handled the gun or a gun in real life, but
Hmm.
they insist that they have to have this gun even if it doesn't historically make sense. And with Carl being a special ops soldier that in the story has been deployed to every major event, like you were there for the first and final shot of the war. Like Sniper Elite 2 ends with you implied to go into the Cold War.
Yeah.
Um, which I didn't much like Sniper Elite 2. I feel that it's just a regurgitation of like Call of Duty, like Modern Warfare, FPS.
Yeah.
It just did not follow the formatting of Sniper Elite. Uh, it's one thing. It's a Sniper Elite overall is a stealth implied game.
Yeah.
Um, but they basically made it like a high pace action shooter into. And Sniper Elite just doesn't function well like that. So there was basically no or little opportunity to be stealthy for very long, over 100 meters in Sniper Elite 2. Um, but otherwise, um, there were, there in each game you're deployed to a different area, so you have access to different types of guns when you were dealing with stuff in Africa versus Italy versus this is in France. You're getting ready for Normandy. Does it like in one of those it might be possible that like you I don't think I'm not familiar with guns and deployment, but like I don't think Russian guns were quite deployed to U.S. And the British allies. Uh, for the most part, Russia was not really with us for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in the time that you are playing in Sniper Elite 4 in Italy, it is still fascist Italy. You are against Italy, but you are using Italian resistance weaponry. Um, and there's little historical snippets that aren't completely correct, but they're right enough. But like for like I guess people crying and moaning that they need their like gun fantasy. Like they're gonna make DLCs. It's confirmed they're gonna drop new guns, so you might get your
There
Mosin.
is, if I remember correctly, let's double check this just to make sure we have it correct. There are currently plans for a grand total of 6 weapon packs with a bare minimum of at least, I'm counting 6 different weapons, so each one at least will have 2 weapons per pack. And one of them seems to be the flare gun, I
Well,
think.
no, are
Because
they just dead ass allowing you to spawn into a map with the flare gun?
it, again, on the season pass roadmap, they have little silhouettes of the weapons they're going to
Mm-hmm.
add. Gun nuts will probably look at this and automatically know which weapons are going to be added.
Yeah.
Whether or not this is all the weapons that will be added, uh, I doubt really. If there's going to be multiple weapon packs, I doubt a weapon pack is going to just consist of a single fucking gun. Uh,
Yeah. I don't think it's gonna be the flare gun because like that's like
well,
spawning
I
in
say the
with
flare gun
yeah.
because if you go on their store page right now and you look at the fourth image, there's just the silhouette of the flare gun. Like it's either like an old time flintlock pistol or a flare gun. I'm I'm just gonna say that right now. This may be just in reference to the mission 2, though. So this
Mm.
might just be referencing the DLC mission that's going to come across. Maybe a flare gun will be a very useful tool during that, or a critical tool during that. Who knows? But the silhouette of the flare gun is right there.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's like I think that'd be akin to just starting with a Ponderfast. Uh,
Yeah,
that would be balanced and cool and fair.
yeah. I mean, I'm gonna be honest here. Like, it's to
Um,
be fair, the Panzerfaust and the flare gun are single shot weapons,
yeah.
and you can't even really hope
Uh,
unless they allow you to holster it and gain ammo for it. If you can gain ammo for a flare gun and a Panzerfaust in this DLC, that will be a little bit
I think like
uh
because like yeah, you're not allowed to take ammo from it, even if you have the take ammo ability. Um, but yeah, it is. You know, by the time that Sniper Elite 4 had got all of its DLC out, they, in Sniper Elite 4, having a fully suppressed weapon that uses standard ammo suppressed
Mhm.
was the framing of it. It made it a crazy thing, but in 5 they made it so suppressed weapons isn't really a big deal. I hope that with the additional time, like it's clear that they put work into the DLC mission. But the it's more entertaining to me. It's one of those replayable maps for the sake of how many ways you can kill the guy.
Exactly.
But I think that
And this is just a personal criticism.
yeah,
This isn't really a grand like this should be fixed for the benefit of everybody. This is just a personal thing.
mm-hmm,
Again, just the lack of verticality on this map, it
yeah.
really kind of saddened me because if we take, say, Sniper Elite 4's Hitler mission,
I mean, they had 3 missions leading up to it, so like
mhm,
it was. Might I say that?
there was a lot more content, but
Yeah,
even then, like when it came to just the assassination of Mr. Horrible himself, there was long shot options there. Like you could
yeah.
snipe him from a generous distance away from a point of higher position and get some interesting kills. Like, of course, the very famous nutshot kill. Like
I
at this
didn't.
point, Sniper Elite has kind of based a little bit of its fame on that possibility alone.
I I actually little historical tidbit, but it is believed that he only had one. I did not get to see. I was gonna check the kill cam. I got the achievement, but I didn't.
In
I
in
did
Sniper Elite
it.
4 and in Sniper Elite 3, I believe he does have two testicles. I remember this from seeing a YouTube clip.
Yeah. So I believe in 4 he does have one. I know that. But in 5, I did get the first kill. Was that at 2 meters away?
Oh my
Because
God.
it was funny seeing my kill record for him being 2 meters. Uh, and like I was hiding behind a wall and he just ran past me into a safe room without seeing me. So then I just lined it up. Basically, I was having a real hard time trying to get him to render into the mission without like tripping the alarms. I just looking at what what 4 did with their DLCs. I hope that they put more time and effort into the map design and taking care of the bugs. With given the fact that they probably won't be on as strict of a schedule because they don't have to make a whole game. They just have to make a few missions. It seems
Mhm.
in uh again, overall, I'd say if you are a fan, I would suggest getting Sniper Elite 5. They did run a pretty decent deal giving you the DLC for free if you pre-ordered, but obviously that ship sailed.
Yeah, that ship's
uh,
that's gone with the wind there.
Gone with the wind. As of right now, I personally, even if you know I were to I don't think I would want to buy the season pass at this point. Uh, like something I did for
I, I
Vermintide.
very much think that when it comes to season passes in general,
Yeah,
that you should wait to see what comes out for that season pass unless they already tell you exactly what is coming out.
yeah,
Here they half measure that where they tell us, the kinds of things that are coming out. But with this, I very much suggest that you wait to see basically how much content is basically, or the quality and the amount of content that is contained within this class. Because if you look at it and you're like, I don't care about any of these weapons whatsoever, and I don't care about any of these skins, it's going to be far cheaper just to buy the two mission DLCs.
yeah,
And if it's vice versa and you don't want those mission DLCs, the season pass may save you some bucks, but
yeah. I usually I don't really care about cosmetics, so I usually skip out on those. Unless it's somehow just barely cheaper to get the bundle, or if it's just barely a difference.
Or Monster Hunter.
Uh, um, basically, yeah, I would say, honestly, comparing it to like Vermintide 2, what they did with their DLCs of dropping, they kind of dropped a new character in a season pass style for each character class. I guess they added a new class to each character to be more correct. But basically, they would, when they ran a new character, the person behind it would get the discount, and I think that Rebellion would do just the same when they put. My plan personally would be to wait till they drop the second mission, and then the first mission is going to be on sale. The base game's going to be on sale. Rebellion is a pretty good company about. I think that they give a lot of value for what you pay for. And I mean, just in general, like Capcom is pretty. I think Capcom is the best about giving people free stuff, especially with Monster Hunter. Which I guess do look.
Capcom, I say, is very good with the not only just how they handle their DLC, but the quality of DLC they release.
Yeah. But yeah, overall, I'd say if just wait till the second mission comes out, and then the first will be on sale probably. And Sniper Elite, it's one of those games, in my opinion, that it's really. I mean, I played this game.
How many hours do you have on Sniper Elite 4?
Surprisingly, okay, Sniper Elite 4, it's like 114 or something. But Sniper Elite 5, I surprisingly only put in like 40 hours or something. Like it.
Oh damn, you even have less than me, dude. I've only beat the campaign on medium once, and I have like 53.7 hours.
No, okay, 81 hours. Okay, so it's like if you go through, I'd say if you go through at an average pace, do all the optional objectives, it's like a 30-hour playtime. I went through the game twice and was extra thorough, so it makes sense. But I've been through Sniper Elite 4 God knows how many times, and the reason that took so long to get through was doing the authentic difficulty was just, it was real bad. It was real hard to get through. But it left me feeling accomplished and entertained in comparison. Yeah. I guess, do you have any closing remarks?
I would just say that, despite all the criticisms we made in this time, the game is still very much good. I'm going to say that just flat out. It's a fun game. I personally really didn't pay attention to the story at all outside of like the first mission. Past that, I just skipped everything.
Yeah. Really, the only story you need to know for any of the games is you're in an occupied country. The Germans are working on a super weapon. You need to find it, and you need to shoot somebody in the head.
You need to shoot somebody in the head and typically blow several things up.
Yeah, that without fail, actually, every game ends with some sort of a vehicle fleeing section and a long shot challenge. That without fail, that if they made Sniper Elite 6, who knows, somebody's riding away in a train or something. The only way to step it up further.
Like the way that I see it, there's two consistent things, three consistent things with Sniper Elite that are always going to be the thing, or at least have always been the thing, and that is Carl Fairburn shooting Hitler in the balls.
Yeah.
And the last mission. That's your three consistent bases right there.
I believe, aside from Sniper Elite 1, every other game you get to do it, and in the zombie army, you get to do it again. And there's like two of us.
If you ever need just the satisfaction of shooting Hitler in his balls, Sniper Elite is the game that'll let you do.
This has been a good time.
Yeah, this has been good.
Have you on. And
If you ever need somebody to rant about either The Witcher or Technobabble, I'm your guy.
Well, I guess that'll cut it here. Thanks for listening if you made it this far. Have a good day, I suppose. Like,
Go out
comment,
there and
and
keep praising the sun.
subscribe. Yeah.